Film emulation is an extremely sought-after effect that can captivate an audience and give nearly any footage a unique look. But often it is an extremely complicated thing to build out within Davinci Resolve, as it can require lots of nodes and computer processing power to be built out properly. But what if it wasn't that way? What if achieving the look of film could be compiled down into just one node? Well, that's where Dehancer comes in. The team over at Dehancer was kind enough to send me their plugin for me to test out and give my honest opinion on. And in this video, I'll show you how it works and why I think it's a game changer for filmmakers trying to achieve that beautiful filmic look. The team at Dehancer was also kind enough to give me a discount code for you all to use if you decide to purchase it, which I'll leave that down in the description of this video. It'll get you 10% off a purchase of Dehancer, and a little bit of kickback will go to me. It's a great way to get high quality film emulation and support my channel as well. However, before we get started, I do just want to disclose that while Dehancer did give me free access to their plugin for this review, they will not be seeing this video prior to it being released. No money is changing hands, and all opinions are my own. Anyhow, let's jump into Davinci Resolve and take a look at how Dehancer works. Once you have your footage imported into Davinci Resolve and on your timeline, go to the Color tab. When Dehancer is installed, it shows up in the OFX search bar as an effect that you can drag and drop onto a node, and that is what we'll do here. Once you drop it on, it will go to a certain look by default, but we'll go through step by step to build out the exact look that we'd like for this clip. The first thing to do is make sure it's reading your camera's information properly. Dehancer has several different options for how to get your footage recognized, but my favorite of all of these options is the ability to choose your camera. Now, unfortunately, not all cameras are supported with this feature just yet, so if your camera isn't supported, you'll have to go into the drop-down and select a different color space. And if your camera's color space is not in there, you can convert whatever color space your camera shot in to a different color space that is supported by Dehancer using a color space transform effect on a node prior. But for this circumstance, my Canon R6 is supported, and I can go through and put in the information regarding how I shot it. This clip was shot in Canon C-Log 3 within the Canon Cinema gamut, so I'll toggle those options. From here, I can adjust exposure, temperature, tint, and a few other things. Next up is the film profile, and this is probably one of the biggest reasons to buy Dehancer, as they have over 60 different film stocks supported. Each of them is a realistic emulation of a real film. One of my personal favorites is Kodak Vision 3 500T, and I think this looks pretty great on this clip. Using the push and pull slider below emulates how the film would look at different exposures, and therefore will give you different colors and results based on which stock you're using. After that comes film compression and expand. These two tools basically allow you to restrict the tonal range and general contrast of the footage, as well as the white and black points of the clip, in order to more accurately emulate the characteristics of film, which technically will never have true blacks or whites. From there is the print, and this is emulating how the film would look once it is printed. There are a bit less options here for the film print, but if there's not one you like, you can just select Cine on Film Log and then add on a film print LUT on a node after this. My favorite is the Kodak 2383 print, which is actually available here in Dehancer, so I'm going to use that profile. You get a few more options as far as exposure and contrast goes, so you can adjust those there as needed. Next up is the color head, and this allows you to push and pull colors in the primaries, but also adjust tones within the shadows, midtones, and highlights. I don't really adjust this too much, but usually I like moving the shadow and highlight tones around just to see if I can get some more color contrast. After that comes film grain, which is one of the other main selling points of Dehancer, as good-looking film grain is an essential part of proper film emulation. My first impression of it was that it was actually a little too strong, so here I'm going to pull it back just to get it to the point where I like it, as I prefer a more subtle grain that's not all up in the viewer's face. But that will depend on the project as well as the intended feeling that the footage is supposed to give. Now we can move on to another huge selling point, the halation effect. Now, I'm not sure if you've used Davinci Resolve's halation tool or not, but while it is convenient to have, it just isn't fully there. It doesn't look natural, and it adds other colors to the footage that just don't look very good. And the other way to build out halation in Resolve is extremely complicated and taxing on even the highest quality computers. So I am thankful to say that of all the different methods of adding halation to footage that I have tried, Dehancer's is the absolute best. It looks perfect, and it doesn't add any other weird colors or artifacts. And you have a great deal of control over how it comes out. Here I'm going to amplify the effect on this clip just just to bring it out a little bit more. Honestly, it might be worth buying Dehancer just for the halation alone, if not already for all the other features discussed so far. The next feature on here is bloom, and this smooths out the footage and gives a nice roll off from the highlights. There are some more effects in Dehancer such as vignetting, which I would personally rather just do in a node prior, but I guess it is convenient to have within Dehancer. Then there's also film breathing, which emulates small temperature and temp changes over time that certain film stocks would have. There's also gate weave, which basically adds that little jittery filming that film sometimes has. Overall, I don't really use these as they're a little distracting and they can slow down your computer a ton. Those are all the features in Dehancer. So, with just one node utilizing Dehancer, we have taken our log footage from looking like this to this. As you can see, we gave that clip a really unique filmic look. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Now, as soon as I got the hang of how it worked, I had an idea of how I could put it into the test in real-world situations. What better way to test out Dehancer than to use it to color grade a short film? So that's what I did. The other week, my friends and I went out to the mountains and captured some beautiful footage for my short film, Refuge, which is actually live on my channel, and I highly recommend you go check it out after this video. But right now, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the color grade of that film. This short film had two major sequences. The first was shot at my college's library, and the other was shot at a fire tower during sunset. And I wanted the two scenes to contrast drastically in terms of color, in addition to the ways that they were filmed. The film stock I chose for the library sequence was Lomochrome Metropolis XR 100-400. This stock had the perfect look that I was going for. It was moody, neutral, and it fits perfectly with the emotions the sequence was supposed to be evoking, which are stress and anxiety. This film stock, combined with the tight focal lengths used in foreground objects in the frame, created that feeling of being trapped. Now, the next sequence was on the fire tower during sunset, and for this one, I wanted to create a beautiful yet unique look that is essentially the total opposite of the library sequence. So I used Kodak Portra 400 as the film stock and got to work on enhancing the sunset scene as best as I could with the tools in Dehancer. For this, I ended up using Dehancer more as a base to get those filmic colors and attributes, and then do additional color grading on top of that to bring out more color in the sky, as well as using power windows to draw attention to the subject. So this shows how Dehancer can also be used as a stepping stone to achieving your final look. It doesn't have to replace every aspect of color grading, and in a lot of situations it wouldn't anyways. So I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Overall, my experience with Dehancer so far has been excellent. For a lot of scenarios, I think it has totally replaced the film emulation workflow that I had previously. However, there are many scenarios in which I see myself doing more color grading to bring out a stronger look. So does that ruin the purpose of having Dehancer? No, not at all. It's a tool, and I use it to achieve the results I want in any way I can, and it certainly can do a ton. It's definitely miles ahead of the built-in tools that Resolve provides, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. My main complaint with it doesn't have to do anything with the result it creates, but rather playback within the software. All of the effects I used before my film emulation workflow are actually GPU optimized within Davinci Resolve, and therefore they run really smoothly. But as far as I'm aware, Dehancer is not GPU optimized, so it doesn't run as smoothly. And I have a pretty beefed up laptop and also PC, but neither of them seem to run Dehancer at full playback speed, so therefore I have to resort to caching clips or just editing with the effects off. But is that a deal breaker? Not really. It's just something I'm sure they could improve in the future. In addition to that, I'd also like to see them add more camera profiles. While they have a bunch of the major brands, it's not a complete lineup from each. My DJI Mini 3 Pro's D-Cine Light profile isn't supported, and the D-Cine Light profile in Dehancer is tuned for one of DJI's action cameras, which doesn't have all the same characteristics. But honestly, other than that, those are my only real complaints with Dehancer, and that wouldn't stop me from buying it. Now, what may stop people from buying it is actually the price. It is currently priced at $400, which to many is a lot of money to spend on a plugin. But I would say it is well worth the money if you are doing professional colorist work or working in the industry as a filmmaker or independent filmmaker. If you want to get that filming look in a faster and easier way, it's only a one-time payment and it will certainly pay for itself compared to some other film emulation plugins and programs. It's actually considerably less expensive. As mentioned earlier, the team at Dehancer was kind enough to provide me with a coupon code for you to use if you'd like to purchase it. If you use the code ROCCOGERMANI, all one word, all caps, at checkout, it'll save you 10% on your purchase, taking that price down from $400 to about $360, which is a great price. So if you do end up purchasing Dehancer with that code, I'll get a little bit of kickback from it, which helps support my channel and future projects that I'll be working on. Anyhow, if I could wrap up my review of Dehancer into just one statement, I would say that it is an excellent tool for film emulation that doesn't have to replace color grading, but rather can be used to enhance it and deliver impressive results with ease. and I would highly recommend purchasing it because the results you can get with it are incredible. Anyhow, thank you for watching this video and sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed, you know what buttons to press. My name is Rocco, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!